Okay, the next presenter which I have with me is Vimal Kumar Khanna. He's been a MD of M Caliber Technologies. He has 28 years of industry experience and has won multiple international honors. He is listed in the Marquee Who's Who in the world. He is also among the 30 select experts in the world on IEEE Communications editorial board. His multiple independently written papers have been published in the leading international journals and conferences, including PMI North America, APAC, and EMEA global congresses. He's got multiple PMI Asia Pacific E-Link issues, PMI India conferences 2010, 11, and 12. He's been interviewed in PM Network magazines. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vimal Kumar Khanna.
Thanks, Prashant. Good afternoon, all. I'm audible at the back? Okay. So, we'll be discussing techniques to manage small teams going beyond process simplification. This is a brief agenda. We'll introduce the topic. Then we'll look at desired experience and skills for managers of small teams. We'll then discuss multiple roles to be played by managers of small teams, how to motivate the team members, and how to mitigate the impact of attrition on the team. As we are all aware, managing large teams is a complex problem. But still, many projects, both in large companies and small companies, involve managing small teams. Like if you take case of startups or small companies, the overall company size itself is small, so all projects involve small teams. When you are managing pilot projects as precursor to large projects, they are again small. And rookie managers are typically assigned small projects in both large companies and small companies. So, in this presentation, I will be discussing one, how to manage a small team in a large company, and two, how to manage a small team in a small company. So, when we say small team, for this presentation, we can assume a small team means a team of maximum size 8. Managing small teams presents challenges that are quite different from challenges of managing large teams. Although there is some published work in this domain, but that mostly addresses the issue of how to simplify processes for managing small projects. But obviously, simplified processes alone can't ensure the success of the project, because finally it's a team members who have to deliver using those processes. So, in this presentation, we will be addressing the human aspect, the techniques to lead, train, mentor, and meet aspirations of both the manager of small team and the team members. The presentation is based on experiences in managing small teams in global leading software organizations. We have covered the whole gamut of organizations, large organizations, small organizations, startups, product development companies, and services companies like Novell, Cabletron, QLogic, Atheros, and Mindtech. We will have a brief look at the differences in challenges of managing large teams versus small teams. We will discuss this in detail in the presentation. The technical expertise desired from the manager is much higher for a small team as compared to large team. And the manager ends up playing multiple roles in a small team and is generally playing only a single role of project management in a large team because of the load involved. The team members, if you look at the experience level of teams, in a small team, typically they would be young team members. But in a large team, you would have both experienced and young team members. The impact of interpersonal conflict is much higher in a small team. Let's take an example. If you have a 5-member team and there is a conflict among 2 members, 40% of the project is getting impacted. So, project is bound to be doomed. Since the team size is small, the growth opportunities for the team members are low. And as a corollary, the motivation levels are also low. Impact of attrition is much higher on a small team. Again, the same example, if in a 5-member team, 1 member leaves, 20% of the project is getting impacted. And when attrition happens, you should be planning for that attrition by grooming a backup in your team. But unfortunately, since the team is small, you do not have scope to groom a backup. So, that is very challenging. We will now discuss the desired experience levels, skills and training requirements of managers of small teams. Now, if you are a senior manager and you want to decide the managers to lead small teams in a large company, for that case we will discuss the desired experience and skills of managers who should be assigned small teams. But in small companies, since all managers end up handling small teams, for that case we will discuss the training requirements for the managers. There are multiple challenges for managers of small teams. One, the manager himself has to be motivated. Generally, managers enjoy leading large teams, so how to motivate them to manage small teams. Then senior engineers also do not join small teams because the growth opportunities and the challenges are limited. So, you end up handling a team of young team members and you need to groom them on the project requirements and technologies. If you have a large team, you have the luxury of having multiple senior people handling different roles for the team. Like you would be having a project manager, program manager, project leads. But in a small team, since it is a young team, manager is the sole senior person knowledgeable about the project. So, he has to be, he ends up being the sole external interface for this project. So, he must have expertise to handle those roles. So, these are some of the solutions we are suggesting. One, if you have the option, you should assign small teams to rookie managers. Since they are young managers, they are recently promoted to management role, they are just learning on management concepts. So, they would be excited about the projects despite the team being small. But still there are some issues to be addressed. If it is a complex small project like a pilot project as a precursor to a very large project, rookie managers can't handle it. And as we discussed earlier, if it is a small company, all managers have to handle small teams. So, you do not have a choice. So, what we suggest is that you should hire technically inclined managers for managing small teams. When a manager is managing small team, he gets the opportunity to jump quite deep into the technical part of the project because he is not overloaded as he is in large teams. So, a technically inclined manager would enjoy his task and will be motivated. And if the manager is not technically very strong, you can always train him in the technical domain of the project. Even moderately high technical skills are fine because you can always have an architect for more complex technical tasks. there are multiple benefits of being technically strong. One, since you are the sole external interface to the external world, if you are technically strong, you can understand the project and present it to external entities like product management, internal and external customers. You can understand their inputs and incorporate them in the project. Further, since you have a deep understanding of project technologies, the design, and you end up having a young team under you, you can quickly groom them into the project technology and bring them up to speed on the project requirements. And if somebody leaves, attrition happens, you can groom the new joinee quickly on the technologies. So, these are some of the training requirements for small team managers. We believe 7 habits training is a must for any manager. Then the critical areas you should get trained on are how to manage interpersonal conflicts, how to mentor young team members, and how to motivate the team under constraints. Small teams mean low workload. So, the manager ends up having a lot of time in hand and invariably ends up micromanaging the team. So, team is generally unhappy because of that reason. So, what we are suggesting is that you should utilize your additional time by taking up an additional role. Some of the possible roles suggested in the related works are: 1, you can be a team member in your own team. You can work as a developer or as a tester for the project. But we recommend against that because you are a very senior resource. If you are working only as a tester or developer, it is a wastage of your experience, your expertise. Another possible role could have been that you could have managed multiple projects. But again, we recommend against that because working in a small team, you have gained deep technical and business domain expertise about the project. Now, if you start managing another project that's not related to this project, all your knowledge is going waste. So, the organization doesn't gain much. So, what we are suggesting is that you should take up the additional role related to the current project you are handling. So, some of the possible roles in product development companies could be: 1, you could be a product manager. You are leading a team to develop a product. You know the product in detail. You have in-depth knowledge of the product. So, why not use that knowledge to become a product manager? So, you can study competing products, gather new requirements from customers, and suggest new features based on that. Other possible role could be you could be a customized solution manager. Customers sometimes look for end-to-end managed solutions around the product instead of buying purely the product. So, you could meet the customers, gather their requirements, and suggest solutions around the product. Third option could be if you are technically very strong and you can balance your technical task along with your management responsibilities, you could be an architect of the project. If you are working in a services company, you are managing a project in a specific business domain or technology domain, like you are managing a networking domain project. So, you could be a business development manager for that technical and business domain. So, since you have gathered enough information about that domain, you can approach the customers who have similar requirements, convince them of your capabilities, the company's capabilities, and win new projects from them in that domain. The other possibility is you could be the architect for that project. But generally, you need to strike a balance there, because organizations won't like you to be both an architect as a manager, because if you leave, then the project is bound to be doomed. So, there has to be a balance. So, architect role is generally not preferred by organizations, but it's really preferred by the managers who are technically strong. Okay. So, as small teams give limited growth opportunities. So, the team generally lacks motivation. So, as a manager, you need to motivate the young team members despite these constraints. As a first step, you should realize that since it's a small team, you would end up handling all the major functions of the team, and there is limited scope of delegating any major function to any senior team member. Obviously, you can't have project modules and you can't have project leads. So, if there are some project leads in the organizations or senior engineers who want to grow to management roles fast, don't include them in the small team, because they will be demotivated. So, what we suggest is that you should either hire young engineers, or you could hire senior engineers who want to grow in technical ladder and not in the management ladder. Okay, in a large team, the members have a narrow focus. They are exposed only to their specific project module they are handling. Their interactions are mostly with the project lead and not with the overall project manager. There are minimal interactions with the external entities. But in contrast, in a small team, the members have complete overview of the project they are handling, direct interfaces with the project manager, the product manager, and the customers. See, as a manager, you should motivate the team members by capitalizing on these facts. So, a manager, when he interacts with external world, like the product managers, he generally includes the project leads of different modules in the meeting to discuss their progress. But in a small team, there are no project leads. The work is distributed among all the young team members. So, you can include these young team members when you are interacting with the product management or the customers regarding the project. So, these young team members get an opportunity to interact with the product management and understand how the product requirements are decided. They interact with the customers and understand their requirements and learn how to convert them into product features. So, this exposure gives them broader outlook. So, they realize that they are getting trained on activities that their counterpart young engineers in large teams are not doing. So, they get prepared for future responsibilities, and that excites them and motivates them on the project. Further, to motivate the members, you should share with them the systemic view of the project as a whole and show them how it fits into overall company goals. And then stress upon the fact that since it is a small project, they are playing a very critical role in that project. So, understanding of their own role and how the overall project fits into overall company requirements would again motivate them, because they are working towards the end goal of the company's requirement. For example, if he is an architect of the project, you can tell him that he is architecting the complete project architecture instead of architecting just a small module that he could have done in a large project. So, so the aim is that you have some constraints, why not convert them into opportunities and your own advantage. In a small team, you never have enough hands for the work on hand. So, you can again convert this constraint into an opportunity. you assign multiple activities to team members. So, each team member is handling multiple tasks, learning to use multiple technologies. So, again he does not get that opportunity in a large project. So, again excited about the work. Okay. Now, we talked about the growth opportunities being limited in a small team. One major problem that we have identified is the performance rating issue. Companies impose a strict bell curve during performance ratings. Say only 15% of the members of a team can be rated at level A. Assuming you are managing a large team of 30 members, that means 5 members could have been rated at level A, and that is a reasonable count. But if you are managing a team of only 6 members, then you are constrained to rate only at the maximum 1 member as level A. And if you are managing a team with 3 Nobel laureates, obviously only one can be rated as A and others would be demotivated. So, bell curve is being artificially applied on a small team, leading to demotivation. So, what we suggest is that you should convince your VP engineering or your immediate head not to impose the bell curve on your individual team, but ask him to create an extended team of multiple small teams into a large team and then impose the bell curve on that team. Like if you have 5 teams of 6 members each, you can create an extended team of 30 members. Now, all the managers of these teams and the VP would attend the performance rating meeting, and managers will convince the VP about the ratings of their individual team members. Assuming you had 3 Nobel laureates in your team, your project would have overperformed. Your project would have done much better than the competing projects of the other managers. So, VP is aware of that fact. So, he knows that you have more high performers. So, in these meetings, VP would then decide to rate 3 of your team members at level A as compared to earlier case where you could have rated only 1 of them at level A. So, as we discussed, attrition has drastic impact on small teams. So, you must apply techniques to prevent and mitigate attrition in your team. As a first step, what we suggest, avoid selecting team members with the same last name in your team. For example, if a husband-wife team, a combination in your team, if one leaves to go out of the city, other may also leave. It's better to have them in separate teams rather than both in your team. So, what we suggest is that you should work in tandem with a manager of a large team in the organization and groom your backup in that large team. So, that resource in that team can be involved in your team functions. Like he could be a design reviewer, he could be a test case reviewer, he could be a code reviewer. And so, whenever an attrition happens in your team, you can transfer that person to your team and he can take the task. Now, if you take the small companies, all the teams are small. So, you can't groom a backup in a large team. For that scenario, what we suggest is that you can outsource some project tasks to a services company and their resource can become a backup for your team. In fact, the services companies internally groom backups for their resources. So, you have the luxury of having a backup and again a backup of a backup. Now, I am going back a little. Earlier, we discussed that in a small team, you should take up multiple roles related to the project. So, how do you decide what additional roles you should take up? So, what we suggest is that you should get yourself assessed using Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment and then decide what role is appropriate for you. MBTI assessment measures the psychological preference of people in how they perceive the world and make decisions. So, MBTI defines a concept called personality type, that is a combination of your attitudes and psychological functions. So, the attitude could be, you could be an extrovert where you enjoy operating in the external world of people and things, or you could be an introvert where you live in the internal world of ideas and reflection. For making a decision, as a first step, you gather information. So, there also you could have two types of personality types. If you are a sensing type of person, you trust the tangible information, the data available to you. But if you are intuitive, you trust the abstract information, that is the underlying theories that reflect in the data. Once you have gathered the data, now you have to make a decision. So, here also you could be either be a thinking type of person, where you make the decision purely based on what seems logical and meets a given set of rules. Or you could be a feeling type of person, where you empathize with the situation, empathize with your team requirements, and then make a decision that makes everybody happy. So, let us take an example. If you are a part of a product development company and you are technically moderate and your personality type is extrovert, intuitive and thinking type person. So, the possible roles we discussed earlier were, you could either be a product manager or a customized solutions manager or an architect. So, since you are technically moderate, we can eliminate the architect choice. So, you have to choose between either being a product manager or a customized solution manager. Now, your personality is extrovert. Being extrovert, you can interact with the customers and suggest solutions to them. So, that meets the requirement of both being a product manager and customized solution manager. Now, you are also intuitive. Assuming you are a customized solution manager, you are simply following the requirement of the customer. So, intuitiveness does not help you, or it will be your capability will be totally wasted there. But if you are a product manager, you have to be intuitive to think beyond the ordinary. You have to think beyond the current requirements, current products, current competing products, and think of something new. So, intuitiveness suits a product management role as compared to customized solution role. And again, since you are thinking, you can logically evaluate competing products, the customer inputs, and decide the product features. Again, all these requirements are required for a product management role. So, so one more point that's important is that, say, the last point, which is a bit complex, that's why I am just covering that in brief. In MBTI, there is a concept called what is your preferred way you want the world to know you. So, some people want to know you, want to see you as type X or Y. So, you yourself would like to show to the world that you are either a judging type person or a perception type person. Say, if you are a judging type person, you want to show the world that your preference is your judging function. And if you are a perceiving type preference, then you show the world a perceiving function. So, like for example, if you are like in the example we are given, the preference was judging. So, there he wants to show the world that he is a thinking type of person. So, that would allow the organization to give him assignments that suit this kind of role. So, so again the product management role would suit him, because again thinking is required in that case in terms of logically deciding the product features rather than empathizing with the team and design product feature, because that is the role of project manager. As a product manager, you just have to decide the product features and not think about who the team members are, what are the capabilities, what are their liking or dislikings. So there, being a thinking is much more suitable to your role as compared to being an empathizing person. So I think we are done.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Vimal, for a very nice presentation, very, very interactive. I would request Jaya Krishnan from Kerala chapter and Amit from North India chapter to present away the memento and the photograph.
Thanks.
Thanks.